Hi, this is Beatrice Wees, 4 pence vir 4. It's 29 October 2017. I'm making a video about Hans Winkler's video on the farmer disc, just so that I can bring some perspective in a message that I would like to leave to my two boys, which is now in that age where we could call it a mentality that they lean over towards what Hans Winkler is saying. Now this is the message I want to leave to the young people out there. Hans is a great singer, great composer, and he really wanted to do something out of his heart. I did listen to some of the stuff that he said, started watching the video, got about halfway, and I decided that he's way out of his depth. Not that he's wrong, not that he's right. He's way out of his depth. He has got no way to know, by way of his own admittance, how does a family feel that lost family members to brutal farm killings. He admitted he's got no way of knowing how they feel. Is wearing black on Monday sitting on a powder keg? Yeah, maybe you are. If you're a black person hating a white person, you are sitting on a powder keg. To the whites out there that hate black people from religious background, political background, or what their parents taught them to do, you're wrong. I can become a racist and explain you why you're wrong, but I'm just telling you you're wrong. We are all given a passage on this planet. We've all given equal opportunities and equal futures. We are just as races opposing each other, standing in different points on the timeline. Now what Hans is referring to is that a black child growing up with a grandmother is more vulnerable than a white child growing up in a loving family to fall into the wrong upbringing. I disagree with Heinz completely, in the sense that he skips the generation where the gangsters started. They disappeared in his video, they disappeared from somewhere. That's wrong. But let's get back to some history, because Heinz seems to have missed some history lessons. As a white nation, we were oppressed in Europe. We came to Africa, South Africa to be precise. Here our forefathers worked hard, they fought across racial lines against what I would like to call evil. Because over these years, there was good and evil in black and white. But the point I'm trying to make is in the timeline. Around about the turn of the century, both, because I'm going to call it black and white, because that's what the polarization in this scenario is about, is black and white. Now, at the turn of the 19th century, not the 20th century, sorry millennials, the whites was oppressed as much as the blacks by the colonialism. They were oppressed by colonialism. Let's just stick to easy words that I can use. I'm doing this on the fly, so please, guys, there's better words, better English, better Afrikaans, I know that, but I'm doing this on the fly. I'm doing it from the seat of my pants, from the bottom of my heart. When Lord Kitchener decided to start with the scorched earth technique of flashing the Boers out, that they couldn't win in this guerrilla war that the Boers had on the British imperialist, colonialist, that suppressed everybody, harvested the country and took the resources back to Britain to make the British people rich. But anyway, just before I start xenophobia on British people, let me just stop there. Our grandmothers landed up in concentration camps with their daughters, sons that isn't old enough to fight yet, and some of these daughters had kids already, so that was the grandparents' grandchildren, and they had to see these people starve. The most horrific deaths occurred in those concentration camps. I mean, the Jews thrive today on the concentration camp stories they tell about Hitler. But the white South African had some pride. We took it, we buried it. We stood up and we built a nation. Now, for the black people watching this video, I just want to point something out to you. I agree apartheid was terrible. That's why I was a sort of a rebel against apartheid in my time. But you must understand carefully, I didn't know apartheid as most other South Africans knew apartheid. I grew up in a little town, St. Lucia. If we drove north from here, we encountered Zulu King land. If we drove west from here, we encountered Zulu King land. If we drove south from here, no, that's south. Yeah, we also encountered Zulu King land. If we drove east from here, we ran into the ocean. So we were surrounded by the Zulu government, because during the apartheid years, the Zulu government was autonomous. It's only after 1994 they became part of the South African government. And that's when things started going wrong in Zululand. But anyway, really wrong. I'm not talking about mildly wrong, I'm talking about really wrong. So, I had great-grandparents that told me horrific stories of what happened in the concentration camps. But they told it to me in such a way that I could respect both sides of the line. I didn't grow up with a hate in my heart, hating colonialism, although I've got brains to figure out it was wrong. A lot of people suffered under it. But I didn't grow up with that hate. The pure hate that I would take some child by his feet and smash his head on the floor. Where I would pour petrol over a fellow race-related South African, like another white person, and put a match to him. I didn't grow up with that hate. But I grew up in Zululand. And around me, I never saw that hate. Grew up where people have respect for each other's belongings, each other's purpose in life, each other's vision on the way forward, each other's land, even their surnames. In the Zulu hierarchy, there's a lot of difference between surnames. You are either born into a good surname or you're born into a not so good surname. Yes, I know in the history, before the grandfathers and the fathers want to kill me, there was lots of tribal faction fights among the Zulus. even probably today is. But from my perspective, it's not a me problem. It's a them problem. It's their problem. It's issues they have to resolve along family lines, bloodlines, blood feuds. I don't know what it is, but it's their problem. Where Hans missed the point here is the problem that we're facing now is he didn't go and investigate where the farm attacks originate, how it is planned and how it's executed. On this very YouTube channel you'll find a lady sitting on a chair telling you what her work is and where she gets her facts from. Farm attacks in South Africa is nothing less than it was in the 1930s when the border farmers was attacked, and they eventually felt the groot trek had to begin. We are at that level. It's the very reason why apartheid laws was passed by the British throne in South Africa. It's also the very reason why we started the border war. It's because terrorists came and attacked and killed farmers, first in Rhodesia, then it spilled over to South Africa, from Angola. And at a point when the ANC was at its lowest, these terror attacks started. Now if you go on YouTube and you search for these people, you'll find that some of them will admit it was their hatred for apartheid that brought them into a conflict with the government of that time. Now my thing here is as such. If you've got a conflict with a regime, like I've now got a conflict with the Zuma regime, stealing money from poor people in South Africa, as I said in the video, this issue has been polarized, so let's keep on polarizing it. Stealing money from poor black people in South Africa. I've got an issue with the regime. A real issue. And I target the regime selectively on Facebook, on Twitter, and I drive a personal awareness campaign to bring home to the people surrounding me that I have to build this country with, that this is wrong. The reason why I feel this is wrong is when the National Party came into power in 1948, which they did with baseball bats, not with petrol bombs, pouring petrol over people they call them pimpies and setting them alight. Now when they got in power in 1948 with baseball bats, the first thing they did is they built schools for Afrikaans white children. They built medical facilities for Afrikaans white children. They built universities for Afrikaans white children. But they didn't stop there. They went further. They built schools for black children, for universities for black children. They built hospitals for black people. Now yes, polarizing this between white and black is wrong. It should have been a community standing up in a post-war, colonial war, World War I, Depression, World War II. Yes, we should have stand up and take hands and grew together. But okay, fact is we didn't. Point I'm trying to make is what the ANC did right after they got to power. As Mandela stood up and he made us proud, everyone, whites, blacks, Indians, coloreds, Kois, everybody, make them proud to be part of a Rainbow Nation. And we started sort of working together. Yeah, there was still a lot of white racists out there, I know. Can't apologize for them because they're not controlled by me, they're not instigated by me, I don't feel them. Something else feels them. I'm not a psychologist, I can't figure that out. I'm talking now from my perspective, how I feel. When Madiba stepped down, Thabo Mbeki came into power. And the mass media portrayed him as a drunk alcoholic that hasn't got a vision to steer South Africa into a future. It's easy for me to start hating him because BEE was being formulated. I was cut out of a working economy purely because I'm white. Not to the extent where I can make place for a previously disadvantaged member of society to move in. No, I was shut down completely. And I still feel that the BEE laws of this country is holding the country back. But this is not what this video is about. This video is about Heinz Winkler speaking out about issues that he didn't investigate. The farmer tax as we experience them today is absolutely terror motivated. I can please the white people and say it's racial motivated. Because it's sort of true. But there is black farmers that's been targeted purely because they've got a vehicle and they've got cattle. So I must now choose my words carefully because this can go either way. We can say, yes, there is black people that's also been targeted, so this is purely a terror attack. And because there's more white farmers than black farmers, it's not a racial thing. The fact is, the brutality that these animals execute on the farms they attack is not human. It's pure animalistic instinct. It's organized. We now have proof that it's organized. South African police, the intelligence officers, crime intelligence, they never wanted to give us this proof. We do have it now. There is proof that this is organized, whether by crime syndicates or by individuals. We have proof that it's organized by individuals because it forms a three-legged pot. You've got the insider on the farm. For some reason he doesn't like the farmer. The farmer did something to me, he's psychopathic. I don't know what. But he starts selling his information to the hit squad. Now this must be hate, if you see how much hatred goes into the planning of the violence that's committed to the farmers, on the farmers. We know that they don't storm into a house and start random acts of violence. We know that they go with a premeditated plan and they choose which one will rape which member of the household. Which one of the hit squad will harm which member of the household. And I have not seen much about the forensic evidence on this farm attacks, but what I can tell you is whether those guys ceded or fought for their lives, the outcome would have been the same. Most likely the outcome would have been more in their favor if they fought for their lives. It seems that these hit squads are really cowards. They mostly Zimbabweans, the research shows, so they're illegally in South Africa. That makes them terrorists. As Heinz Winkler wrongfully pointed out in his video, that these guys are fighting ISIS. Our faceless enemy is from Zimbabwe, and sometimes from Mozambique, and probably from Nigeria as well, but mostly from Zimbabwe. Because these terror groups hasn't got a name yet, it doesn't mean they don't represent ISIS in South Africa. When I say they don't represent, I mean they are a terror group the same as ISIS are a terror group. Then the final leg of the spot is the watcher in the woods. Now, you have an insider, you have a hit squad, and you have a watcher in the wood. That means this is a structured organization that plans an attack. Once you plan an attack, even if you say, I'm going to kill that bastard outside, you pick up your gun, you run outside, this guy's got an AK-47, and he starts shooting at you, you shoot back, you're going to be charged with premeditated murder, because your intentions when you run outside to go and fight him off was to kill him. It's going to be very difficult for you to prove self-defense. Now, we now know that these hit squads goes to the farms with premeditated plans on how to torture the individuals individually, how to murder them individually. And when something goes wrong, these guys just run away like the cowards they are. They don't sit back and fight it out with the police, with the neighbors. No, they just fucking run. So, they are cowards, they are organized, so they must be terrorists. There's no other thing I can give to them. Now, Heinz didn't do his homework on this. Didn't do his homework on his history. And he's definitely no clinical psychologist to say that this has to be the mental state of children growing up under their grandparents. I can categorically state that Hans has got no knowledge what he's talking about, because I work on a day-to-day basis with these people that grew up in a fatherless home, in a rural township, battling to get close to go to school, food on the table, mothers dying probably of AIDS. I work with these people. Some of them are my best friends. And there's nothing in them that will turn them into an animal that will kill somebody in their house while they're the most vulnerable at night. There is just no way that they will do that. And for those South African males out there that think I'm a Hans Kaki, I'm a Kaibuti, let me just tell you something. Me and my wife has survived 16 armed attacks, hijacking, house invasions, armed robberies at the shop where we used to work at. With our children, we survived 3. So yes, I know what I'm talking about when I say I know what happens in a hijacking, in a home invasion, in an armed robbery. I have been there. I have survived it. Still doesn't make me hate another racial group, especially black people. Read a comment on one of my Facebook posts about a black man that said these guys that was so-called tortured in the coffin, that guy's going to be mentally scarred for the rest of his life. If that's a fact, I must be mentally scarred. I probably am. Still doesn't make me hate people from other races and religions and cultures. I just don't. I don't pitch up in the middle of the night in some squatter camp and start bashing people's heads in with pickstelen and 4-pound hammers, pour petrol over them and put them alight. I don't. I had my first very horrible encounter with a group of black adult males when I was about 7 years old. I escaped them. They paid. Justice was fairly served on them. But I'm not scarred for life. And if you think I am, I still don't go around beating in people's heads, flopping children into the cots, onto the bed, onto the floor, as if they're specks and sacks of maize meal. I just don't do that. Everybody that know me well, I grew up as a young man, military, to the stage where I am now. They know that I'm very, very, very short-tempered. Probably I was bullied too much at school. Probably it's a genetic flaw in me. I don't know. But I've got a very short fuse. Today I drink medication, otherwise my blood pressure just runs away. To just bring my fuse to the point where I can function in society. But still, all these things that happened to other people happened to me, happened to people around me. And you don't see us going around pouring people over other white people, setting them alight, smashing in people's skulls, boiling them in water, burning them with irons, just because they're from a different racial group, or we want to steal their TV. We just don't do that. I don't do it. I don't know if you know about white people going around doing that. The fact is that this is Zimbabweans and from other African countries coming to South Africa, instigating our own black culture to commit violent crimes against the white minorities in this country. Hans Winkler and Ronaldo Gous, that's the point that you miss. You missed it completely. I'm wearing black tomorrow because I'm mourning for the farmers that's been killed, the innocent children that's been tortured, the innocent women that has been raped from my racial group. That's why I'm wearing black tomorrow. If anybody comes and says, let's do it for the Indian family, or an Indian family in Stanger, or a Khoi family in Kalahari, or a black family in Kula village, I'll probably do the same. I don't see why I shouldn't do the same. But tomorrow, Monday, 30 October, I'm doing it for my culture, my religion, and my race. To tell the world, we are being victimized by an unseen force that's crippling our country, our economy, our children, our grandparents, and our parents. Now, why I'm doing this is I am a conspiracy theorist. and my children can laugh at me. My boys has always been teasing me about it. But I strongly believe that the banksters of the world are sitting behind this terror attacks to destabilize our lovely country and to bring it to the knees so that they can deal with the criminals that will then be in power to get the resources at the best price possible. This is my motivation to wear black in solidarity with the white farmers being killed at the current rate, at the current level of violence. I'm not trying to polarize racism here, Anna, like you think. No, I'm trying to find a solution. My solution is to tell the world tomorrow, this is how the hurt that you bring to this country look like. Whoever you are sitting behind this, who is planning this terror attacks in South Africa, whoever you are who trained these terrorists from Zimbabwe and the other countries to come and intimidate, manipulate, and indoctrinate our fellow South Africans. We know you are operating, we are hurting, you are hurting innocent children, you are bringing a beautiful country to its knees, and you are giving birth to famine. Now, for those of you that doesn't know what the word is, go and Google it. Famine. Famine. It's the absolute lowest point of hunger any person can suffer. It's coming to South Africa because of this terror attacks on the food producing farmers. Now, the black people that hate me for saying that, if you're just going to listen a little bit further, I'll just put your minds to ease. Right now, there's enough rural property in Zululand that I can go and negotiate myself a game farm, a sugarcane farm, and a vegetable farm, an irrigation farm. Not either or, and I can have all three of these within a week of negotiation in the tribal rural communities. Reason why I can't do it is I don't have the financial backing to start up commercial farming in the rural areas. I just don't have the money. I can't raise the money because I'm not black enough. I have to go and find myself a black partner, start a BE company, blah 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 blah, and work from there. I won't. I just won't do it. Because BEE is just the poor man's way of enslavement, and I'm nobody's slave. Either you work with me or you work against me. There's no way you're going to enslave me. All I'm saying is, if you want land so badly, and you've got the skills to work the land is out there. It's available in your communities, in your black communities. Go and work it. If you can prove to us that you are worthy farmers, I'm pretty confident that any farmer in this country that's got vacant land will take you on a profit sharing basis and let you work his land and share the profits on the same principle that I can get land from the rural communities of this country. You can get land from the commercial farming communities of this country, but you'll have to work it. Nothing is for free. Don't let Julius Malema or Black Lives Matter or any of those assholes tell you any other way. If you want something, you gotta work for it. And And that's my final message I'm trying to give across to my children. This is where I stand on wearing black tomorrow. I'm mourning with my fellow white South Africans for being attacked by terrorists, not by previously disadvantaged black people. My fellow countrymen, my brothers and sisters in the farming community are attacked by organized terrorism. And Heinz and Ronaldo, for that reason, I'm wearing black tomorrow. Thank you. This is Bierpens for Vier signing off.